you can only be really good at a couple things in your life to be like a truly master in some area. Is there a way you think about, should I continue in this area, or is there a decision-making process of you go through of, should I continue down this path or should I switch to something different? And what is that decision-making process? Because, it's easy for us entrepreneurs to feel bored, but often I think some of the entrepreneurs that haven't had as much success is that's actually their crutch. They get bored too quickly and jump to something different. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Behind Their Success podcast. I'm Peyton Squires, the host, and today we have on Larry Easto. Larry is a seasoned expert with over 40 years of experience as a lawyer, consultant, and marketing coach. Larry has authored more than 30 books and video courses helping self-employed professionals grow their service businesses through practical and authentic strategies. His facilitative approach empowers clients to find their own path to success, making him a true champion of experiential learning and personal growth. Couldn't get that word out. Larry, good morning. Welcome on.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely, Larry. So we got a little bit of your bio there. Kind of tell us about yourself.
Well, I was born at an early age. It's been an interesting journey. I have the fortune or misfortune to have made a ton of default decisions, meaning I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and any decision was better than no decision. So at some point in time, I'm thinking, what's this all about? Why am I here? What's life all about? And then gradually, for whatever reason, I started to narrow my focus and started to figure out what I enjoyed doing and what I was good at and what my gifts seemed to be and what other people seem to like. So it's been a long process. A number of years ago, I used to be a lawyer, and a friend of mine described becoming a lawyer as sharpening a pencil. You kind of take off everything that's not the point. You get rid of everything that's not the point. Kind of like Michelangelo and David. You get rid of everything that's not David. And so I think that's where I'm at now, is that I've finally gotten rid of everything that wasn't who I am. And I'm doing what I love doing, which is it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept there. And one I've heard before of when people are trying to figure out what they want or who they are or what they want to do, it's often that's like this. How do you do that, right? Like, how do you take steps, towards who you are? It's a whole lot easier for you to figure out what you don't like, right? Like who you're not. And it's a whole lot easier to eliminate things in your life. You're like, well, I hate that. And then eventually, kind of like you say, what you said there is like by default, you kind of end up in a life you like, right?
I can now understand how that happens, because right from when we're little kids, we're told, do this, don't do that. You should do this. You should do the other thing. You shouldn't do that. So we get kind of the should and shouldn't mindset. And it's hard to make our own decisions because we're so used to other people telling us what we should and shouldn't be doing. And now with the internet, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. And so there's people that have a little bit of knowledge about something that are telling us what we should be doing. I think it's a maturity thing that we finally get to the point to say, I don't care what you're telling me I should be doing. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm good at. So it's a lifelong process.
Yeah. That's funny when you talk about people, on the internet telling other people what they should be doing. As a guy that works in the tax and wealth space and whatever, just don't take tax advice from just random people online. That's my PSA.
Oh yeah.
As a guy that's worked at it in over like a decade plus, and then I'll see someone give this like insanely confident answer.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, there's no way you know that.
Totally. Well, no, I know when the internet first came out, I had a brother-in-law who was very well-intentioned as hell, and he had discovered a site where he could do wills for people. So who had at that time hadn't graduated from university, is telling me that he is going to set up a service writing wills for people. And I said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Have you ever seen a will?" "Oh, no, but I can get the instructions online." And I'm saying, don't do it. Please don't do it.
Yeah, it's Anyway, there's a lot of terrible tax advice.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So Larry, you've been involved in several different types of industries. Can you kind of just run us down like your journey a little bit and how you've arrived at where you're at today?
Sure. When I was in final year of high school, the guidance teacher called me in and asked me what I was going to do next year, and I said, I don't know. And he said, "Have you ever thought about accounting?" And I said, "No, because I don't know what accountants do." And so he said, well, you're really good in math, so you'll be a great accountant. And I thought, well, okay, fine. It turned out he had an accounting firm needed a student. Okay, so
Perfect.
perfect. There you go. It lasted. Uh, I remember being in the middle of nowhere, doing a farm audit, auditing a farm, and this was when the Cuban Missile Crisis was going on. And I'm thinking the world is going to be blown to hell, and here I am, doing this stupid audit. Duh. Anyway, it didn't last very long. Went to university thinking maybe I'll be a priest. That might be kind of fun because that was really the only thing I knew. My parents, my family, working class family, nobody had been to university, so I didn't have any relatives to talk to. Lasted in pre-theology for like half a day. Didn't like the folks there. End of undergraduate, the new dean of the college, and I was on college council. It says, so, Sir Larry, what are you doing next year? And I said, I don't know. And he says, have you ever thought of law school? I said, what do lawyers do? And on and on and on and on. I was practicing law in a small town. I had a disagreement with my supervisor over how clients should be served. Wound up running my own law practice. And as I'm setting it up, I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm in the situation now. I have to create the checks. I can't wait for them to come to me. I'm running a business now. I got a lot of stuff I got to learn. So fortunately, it was a small community, and networking was a really good business, and practice was successful. Ran out of growing room in a small town, wanted to do something new, something more growing room. My wife was getting bored. My children, I thought, needed better education than what was available in a small town. So we moved to the city, and I started doing consulting. I was really good with planning, strategic planning, that kind of thing. So I got involved with that. Went to a workshop to learn how to market consulting services, and the conductor, the facilitator, said, if you really want to do well in consulting, you really should write a book. And I thought, hey, that's kind of interesting. I like that idea. So he basically did a quick overview in writing a book. So I wrote my first book, which was How to Succeed in Your Home Business. And I was a consultant at the time. And at that time, a lot of big organizations were flattening. There were a lot of really talented people being cut loose. They had great skills, but they didn't know what to do with them. So I wrote a book, How to Succeed in Your Home Business, which did really well. And so it was a case of not really knowing what I wanted to do, that default decisions along the way. But it narrowed the focus. And when my first book came out, it was nirvana. It was like, wow, where has this been for my entire life? It was like seeing my name on a sign for my law office. It was just such an exciting kind of a thing. So since then, I haven't really stopped. As I say, it just started out with a broad how to succeed in your home business, and it's evolved through professional services now into personal growth and development. And I think what's happening is my interests are following my journey, getting narrower and narrower and narrower and more focused. And I'm at the happy stage now that I'm doing what I consider my legacy project. And what I'm doing is trying to pull together lessons from my life that other people can learn from without going through what I went through. And I didn't have problems. Well, yeah, there were some problems, but basically I'm enjoying identifying my lessons and sharing them with others. So that's how I got from I don't know to what I'm doing now, which is so much fun.
Yeah, and that's most people don't share that story, right? You kind of seem like a guy that you go into an industry, do a thing, kind of master that to some degree, and you kind of get bored and zero in on the next thing, right?
Yes.
and I can relate. Sitting still or staying into one thing it gets boring after a while. But
oh yeah, I've been blessed or cursed with such a range of gifts, and there's so many things I can do that the cost of doing A is not doing B.
Yeah.
When I was practicing law, I was curling, and I don't know whether you know curling in Missouri or not, but it's on ice. And
I've never done it, but it is a cool Olympic
It's fun. It's fun, and I was not bad at it. And I got better and better. And people kept saying, well, Larry, if you concentrated on curling, you'd be a really good curler. And I'm saying,
gold medal.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, but that means I couldn't ski. I couldn't do those other things I like doing. And along the way, I've been fairly decent at a lot of things, but not outstanding at anything. And that's worked for me. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Am I outstanding? I don't know. It feels good. And I think I'm making a difference. And that's the important thing.
Yeah, it's going deep into things like that is where you can really find the rewards for yourself as well, right? When the work itself becomes the fulfilling part, that's when things get really exciting and you can go deep. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, a couple of things. I've always had a spiritual kind of sense to me. Spiritual in the sense of a connection with a greater power, something greater than myself, very connected to nature. And at one time, well, there was a reference to becoming a priest. And one of the reasons I left law was to take a master's in spirituality because I was really fascinated with the concept. But now I'm finding that I can incorporate some of these spiritual thinking, if you will, with some of my writing, some of the empowerment, some of the decision making, some of these personal development. Because to me, the spirit is body, mind, and spirit. It's our connection with what's outside of us. It's not necessarily religion, not necessarily the institutional religion, but just the connection with what's outside. And so it's really, really exciting to me to dive deeper into the subject of spirituality and see how closely related it is to enlightenment, to empowerment, to fulfillment, all those kinds of esoteric terms that
Mhm.
back in the day when I was busily hustling business, I didn't have time to think about. And so it's kind of fun to do that now. And again, when I say the legacy project, I've got the books together and the courses together, and it's at the same time it's fun to continue to learn more, to dive deeper into an area that I find really fascinating. It's our purpose and our passion. Why are we here? What do we do? And all those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you've written over 30 books. What drives you to do that? Seems like you constantly have this level of curiosity that's pushing you. Where do you think that comes from?
That's an interesting question. I was writing a column for the local newspaper, and the editor wanted me to interview a writer, and I interviewed a freelance writer. And this was before I really considered myself a writer. It was after my first book was out, but before I'd really gotten into it. And I talked to this person, and I asked much the same question. I said, "Why do you write?" And she said, "I cannot not write."
Mhm.
And at the time, I thought, now, isn't that interesting? Now I could say the same thing. I cannot not write. And I'm not, to me, writing is not putting words on paper or putting words on the screen. It's organizing ideas, it's pulling the ideas together. So it's making sense out of something that doesn't make sense. So if
Mhm.
I'm writing something, for example, I'll start out with a mind map. I'll just do a mind map with lines and drawings and everything. I got 2 or 3 of them around here now. So I'll do the mind map. I'll number them in terms of order of flow, order of process. And then I just start translating the mind map into a narrative, into written form.
Mhm.
I think now it's probably a case of helping me understand things. By writing, I can understand things better rather than just letting these ideas scramble all over the place. Writing is a process of pulling them together. And the added bonus is if I've thought of something, I'm probably not the first person on this earth to have thought of it. And I'm thinking, okay, so if I had this idea, why don't I share it? Why don't I put it out and see what happens? And sometimes good stuff happens, sometimes it's ignored, but it doesn't matter. If I can understand a concept better, it means I can use it somewhere.
Yeah, 100%, right? I think that writing process forces you to take all these ideas and organize them, right? Organize them in
Oh,
your
yeah. Oh, for sure.
in many ways, and I think science has kind of proven this, like, teaching stuff, right? By writing and then you in process kind of
Oh, for
teaching that
sure.
material, that in itself, the teacher learns way more than the student
Absolutely.
process.
And you probably experienced this from doing podcasts. I learned so much from these podcasts. I mean, people like you ask me questions I hadn't thought of, and then I
Mhm.
think about them. I think, wow, that's really good. I can do this or I can do that. Or I really like that idea. I'm going to play with it. And likewise, I'm hoping that I'm feeding you and the audience ideas that they can play with for pleasure or productivity, whatever. So it's an exchange of ideas. It's keeping the energy flowing back and forth.
I wanted to circle back to kind of comment you made earlier of talking about, you said you're kind of naturally good in a lot of different areas or whatnot, but and I think where the crisis kind of comes in or can come in for somebody is when you realize like how much effort it takes to get to be really good at one thing, right? Like the amount of effort that
Oh yeah,
actually
yeah,
takes. And
yeah,
then you quickly realize is like you can only be really good at a couple things in your life to be like
yeah.
a truly master in some area. Is there a way you think about should I continue in this area, or is there a decision making process of you go through of should I continue down this path or should I switch to something different? And what is that decision making process? Because It's easy for us entrepreneurs to feel bored. That's almost a natural state. But often I think some of the entrepreneurs that haven't had as much success is that's actually their crutch, is they get bored too quickly,
Yeah.
right? And jump to something different. Can you speak to that a little bit of what like maybe your decision process is or what advice you may have to really?
Well, it goes back to the spirituality thing. I'm very intuitive. I'm a highly sensitive person, which is neurodivergency. So I'm very intuitive. And I've learned to listen to my intuition. And if something feels right or something feels wrong, I tend to listen to that. And I've also picked up a thing called muscle testing that I can test, just a silly little exercise, just to see whether it's wishful thinking or intuition. Now, this is as a result of studying these kinds of things, doing extra work in it, doing online courses and all that kind of thing. But I rely very much on my intuition to give me guidance. And it's just a case of it is in my highest interest to this or in my highest interest to that. And whatever gives me the strongest sensation, I go with. Otherwise, I tend to overthink things. I make major issues out of non-issues and really important things I don't even see. So relying on my intuition forces the brain to slow down and take a holiday and let my body and my connection with the universe, as it were, give me some guidance. And it not only does that seem to make better decisions, but it's also more comfortable. Like when I make a decision based on intuition, I don't second guess myself. And again, this is years of experience. I didn't just pick this up. It's a learned process. And that's, as I say, that's part of the spirituality thing, part of the holistic approach. Like we are body, mind, and spirit. We know what our brain's telling us. We know what our spirit's telling us sometimes, but we don't always know what our body's telling us.
When you say that, like, you listen to intuition, like any advice for the listeners of like practically, strategically, how do you do that?
I think one of the important things is to create some space. It's not physical, but emotional and intellectual space, meditation, quiet. Can you go and think about it? And I thought best when I was out with my dog. Just out in nature with my dog, free of all sorts of things. I've always had that connection with nature. When I was a little kid, the family would go to a beach, and the first thing I did was to grab a handful of sand. And I had a handful of sand until we left. And I remember my mother pulling my fingers apart to dump this handful of sand. So I've always had a connection with nature, but it's just slowing things down. And I think that's the number one thing is learn to slow down, learn to turn the brain off. Meditation, connecting with nature, anything like that does it. I found that once I allow myself to slow down, I'm almost overloaded with positive things. It's called the law of attraction, but it's a hokey kind of an expression, so I try not to use it. I believe in it, but I try not to use it too often. Yeah. And it's a case of creating some space and just letting be, letting go.
And 100% my experience, Larry, as well, and something I've gotten continuously better at, and even more so better in the last year or so, is doing that slow down space, right? For me, a lot of it is I have a sauna at home. That's kind of one that allows me to, put in earbuds and just kind of like spacey sauna music and kind of just shut off my, right? Like, and that's just one place I go where I can like shut off my head. And then it's amazing the stuff that bubbles to the top of like, an idea or a problem, a solution to something. And, and I go into there with no intentions whatsoever, but like you get my experiences, the stuff just comes to you.
Oh, yeah. And I think what happens is that when we're focusing on a problem, and I'm just playing with an idea here, but when we're focusing on a problem, we're so focused on it that everything relates to the problem. So we make the problem bigger, and everything that it's around is part of the problem. Whereas if we can just learn to clear our minds and let ideas come from wherever and let them take their own course, good things happen. I've learned that, and this is weird, woo-woo, this is kind of weird. I've learned that if I have a really crazy dream at night, like totally disconnected, and just what the hell is going on there? The next morning, there's a breakthrough. There's some kind of a breakthrough in some kind of an issue. It'll take me a few years to realize that when I started really tracking my behavior. But man, some of the dreams, I I just can't believe it. And I don't live a life like that. I'm a pretty boring guy in my life, and I have these crazy dreams, and then wake up going, holy crap, what was that all about? And then almost instantly there's a resolution of a niggling issue.
Yeah.
I think, whoa. So maybe it was like breaking the egg to do the omelet. I don't know. But it's, again, it's being aware of ourselves and allowing things to happen. I think too many of us try to force things, and life takes time.
Yeah, especially probably the people that are listening to this type of podcast. I mean, they tend to lean towards action. That you're high achieving entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah.
They tend to lean towards action and anxiety and hard driving and all those things. And this stuff that Larry's talking about right here makes probably most of you guys just want to cringe and like, how?
Yeah, go. Well, this guy's crazy. I don't want to be there.
Right, but it's so hard. Like, it's amazing.
Oh, it is.
I go and sit in a group, in my group of entrepreneur friends that we get together, every once in a while, and I sit there and observe them all. Right, I'm just sitting there quietly in the corner, and I'm watching every one of them, like their knees are just bouncing up.
Yeah.
Right? Because they cannot sit still. And that is just how hardwired they are. But that just shows you, the world is so full of distractions.
Oh, yeah.
And things pulling you in every direction. It is an unbelievable superpower to just sit still and think about a problem and wait for the solution to come to you.
And it's so easy. It is so easy to get sucked into the energy around us. I mean, there is just, everything is energy. Einstein had it right. Everything is energy. And when everything is, when hell is breaking loose all over the place, it's hard to sit and twiddle your thumbs. You got to do something. And so it's really hard to do that. And one benefit of the pandemic is that we as a society learned that we don't have to be busy 24/7. We can function.
Yeah.
It takes time to learn that. It's hard, but we can do it. And it's just, there's so much going on that it's and especially now with all the changes that are happening so fast. You get up in the morning and read the news and think, wow, it's a different world today than it was yesterday. It's just changing so fast.
Yeah. If you follow any like tech or medical updates, any
yeah.
Like
and one
comes out of my AI app every single week, just bonkers.
Well, it's interesting. I'm just finishing a 28-day breakthrough course just because I like doing that kind of thing. And this one is astrology based, which is really fascinating. But one of the things they suggested is to not have your phone in your bedroom. And I thought, okay, that's kind of okay. So I will try that. And so I tried it. So I thought, wow, I sleep better. I have an easier morning. Is it in my head or is it because of the phone's not there? I don't know. I don't care. I like it. So I don't, when I wake up in the morning, I have no idea what's happened outside in the world. And maybe half an hour later, I look at my phone, but it gives me an easier start to the day.
Everything you've said on this podcast and really, and things we talk about here all the time is it's just becoming more aware, right? Especially totally. Self-aware. Yeah. And, the more self-aware you are, the better you're going to be able to navigate the world. Most people, I swear, as I've done so much of this work and becoming more and more self-aware, the patterns you spot in other people that they have no idea that they're doing. Yeah. Not that I'm not just patterned all the time. I'm sure I am. But people are so not self-aware of just the habits and patterns and the stuff they just do on repeat all day long. Every day.
Yeah. Automatic pilot. Yeah. And I think that goes back to somewhere along the line, really, really internalizing the external shoulds and oughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere during our growing up, we missed the Jack Canfield, success principle number 1, take 100% responsibility for your well-being. Well, that's all we really need to know. But a lot of people just never get around to it.
Why do you think that is? Do you got that answer for me? Because that's been for a long time.
Can I get back to you on that?
I mean, it's only like 2% of the population will listen to a podcast like this and actually do anything.
I think the practical reason is that if something goes wrong, it's nice to have somebody else to blame. Yeah. This wouldn't have happened if they hadn't done that. And we can always control our reactions, but still we're more than happy to blame somebody else for something.
I can see that, right? I mean, it's like we can't we always got to have a reason to save us or cover us, right? Like our ego won't allow us to be like,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
no, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't do the
Oh, yeah.
work. I didn't do the thing. I did, it's always something external that's in the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had a nephew who, when anything went wrong, his first expression was, "I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it." And he died a few months ago.
Mm.
Sad story there, but he died a few months ago. And when I heard he died, I'm thinking, I wonder what he said. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Yeah, and that's it's just kind of interesting, and it's such the smallest difference, right?
You probably find it in your practice. When I was practicing law, I found it. Clients want us to make decisions for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would make it a point saying, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you some options. It's not my issue. It's your issue, but I'm going to give you some solutions. Well, if you were in this situation, what would you do? I'm not in your situation. I'm not that stupid.
I
But
wouldn't
yeah,
put myself in this situation.
exactly. As advisors, we get used to being asked what to do. And
Yeah.
people who don't consider themselves having the smarts or whatever don't have confidence. I don't know, but I think it comes down to it's just easier to point fingers than to take responsibility.
Are you looking for a new tax experience? Looking for an advisor that actually brings you high-level ideas and proactively plans so you aren't overpaying your taxes? Or how about one that even just responds and communicates in a timely fashion? If any of that resonates with you, you probably just have a tax preparer and not a tax planner. And it is through the tax planning process where all the value is found. And when tax planning is done right, it has a positive return on investment. I'm Peyton Squires. I'm a CPA and owner of Squires Tax Planning. We work alongside entrepreneurs and high-income earners, helping them pay the least amount of income taxes, both legally and ethically. We have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars through specific strategies, and we guarantee we can find multiple tax strategies that your current tax preparer hasn't told you about. If that interests you, head over to squirestaxplanning.com. There you can take our free assessment to see how likely it is that you are overpaying on your income taxes. From there, you can also book a free tax discovery call with our team to see what it would look like to have us working for you.
So looking back, Larry, what do you think is the skill set, or like what specific skill do you possess or develop that allows you to be successful?
I think open mind. An open mind allows me to try things that otherwise I might think I couldn't do.
Yeah, and it's just a natural state of curiosity.
Oh, yeah. And some people don't have it. So mine would be, I guess, natural curiosity and willing to try stuff.
Yeah, willing to pick up stuff and play with it and see if it's for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, well, it's one less thing I have to worry about.
Right. And that's where it's almost like you're making decisions, right? Like, earlier we talked about you're eliminating things for your life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Most people will see something like that. It'll spark an idea. It's like, oh, I want to write a book. Yeah. Well, maybe they should just start it, see if they like it, or and quit or do it or whatever.
Yeah.
But most people will spend the next 5 years just considering it. Right? You're right. They'll passively think about it, every few weeks for years upon years and drive themselves crazy because they'll never actually pick it up and do anything.
Maybe they're afraid of their book not being popular or whatever. I read a book not too long ago called Comfortable to be Disliked or something like that. We work so hard to be liked, especially when we're marketing our services. We work so hard to be liked that we do things that aren't really in our best interest, aren't really our authentic selves. And it may be that people don't do things because they're afraid don't write a book because they're afraid it won't get good reviews. And I know when I do a book, I'm thinking, is it really good? Is it really good?
Yeah, once again, it's the ego in the way, right? The ego in the way. But I've heard this said, this way a bunch of times. It's like people aren't afraid to fail. People are afraid of other people seeing them fail.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a much more accurate statement.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, the other people probably don't care.
Yeah, no one's watching you. Like, you're not that, like, in the best way possible. You're not that important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The overall scheme of things, yeah. And it's the ego and the expectations. And again, it goes back to if you don't get A's, you're not a good student, all those kinds of things. I got a few A's, not a lot of A's. I was gentlemanly seas, but I made it.
That is a lot of it is, we take on the expectations and whatever of our culture and our,
Yeah.
around us. And we're unhappy because we realize we're just going after stuff that we don't even care about and never willing to pick up or do anything that might actually light us up and get us excited. So Larry, looking back, beginning of your career, you've been around for
too long. Time to go.
Time to go. What, if you could go back to the beginning of your career and give that man, one piece of advice, what would it be?
Just do it. Just do it. Quit your bitching and do
it. Any more context as to why that's your advice?
Yeah, as a kid, I did a lot of things that I know was expected of me. That I think I probably would have been happier if I had done other things. I came from a hockey playing family, and hockey was the be all. I'm a Canadian, so I came from a hockey playing family, so that was the be all. And I could skate, and I could do that kind of stuff, but I wasn't good. I really wasn't very good. And I took a lot of abuse from family because I wasn't a very good hockey family. And I should have said, go to hell. I'm not a hockey player. I'm something else. But again, you don't do that. You don't do that as a kid. If you want to continue to live in the house, you don't do that.
Yeah.
So it would be a case of oh no, maybe I needed that. Maybe I needed the softening of the ego before I went on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that there were lots of things I could have done that I didn't because of fear of one reason or another. And I'm sure that was the default, part of the defaults all the way along. I didn't know what I could do, and I was afraid of trying anything. And whatever I did, I wanted to keep a low profile so nobody really noticed me.
Yeah. I think, Larry, I think I can relate to that. I think that was the early part of my career too, or I'd say the early part of once I became an entrepreneur, starting my own business. I think part of it was I didn't know what I was capable of or had an idea. Yeah. But the other part of it was like, oh, well, if I just stay over here in my little corner, like I can't mess up anything too
Bingo.
bad.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like nobody pay any attention to me and I can just do my thing. Right?
Yeah. And it wasn't, we talked earlier about my first book. It wasn't until the book came out and it was so, I thought it was great. And a lot of other people liked it. And I thought, wow, this is what it's all about. So it took me a long time to get there. But I guess I had to be where I was in order to be where I wanted to be.
Yeah. That's the thing. You can't, right? The dots all connect back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the time it looked crazy, but now I was like, oh, yeah, I can see how it all fits together. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Larry. So, Larry, what's the best way listeners can get a hold of you, learn more about you, get to more about your consulting services and really just all your different books?
A couple of places. My website, larryeasto.com. And to avoid information overload, I've set it up as kind of a decision-making process that if you want to do this, check here. If you want to do this, go here. You want to do something else. And by way of thank you for the people who've listened to us for the past period of time, there's two thank you gifts there. One is, they're both books. One of them is 26 ways for service professionals to get more new business. And that's A to Z. It's an instant download. Just click on the link and you'll get it. And the other is a book called New Beginnings, New Opportunities. That's kind of what we've been talking about, isn't it? And that's a book that I first wrote during the pandemic. I figured that there'd be some opportunities coming from it. So I wrote that. I expanded it last year to include all sorts of other different things, incorporating transformation. That's another freebie. That's on the front page of my website. Or LinkedIn is good. I'm upgrading my LinkedIn profile. I'm going to be doing, starting June 1st, all sorts of new things there. So LinkedIn is a good profile. It seems to me that everybody I want to talk to is on LinkedIn, so there's no point in messing around on other social media.
Hey, I get it. I'm kind of all over social media, but LinkedIn, I'm up in my game on LinkedIn. Well, good deal, Larry. Is there, it's been a great combo. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners before we go?
No, it's been fun talking to you. I've learned all sorts of things. So if I've learned, I hope the listeners have as well.
Very good. Larry, I appreciate you. You've done a lot of things and, you're kind of, it seems like you're in the point of your career, not that you're anywhere near the end of your career, but in the point of your career where you really get a lot of satisfaction of getting. And keep doing that. Keep leaning into that.
Thank you.
Sounds awesome.
And thank you. This is fun.
Well, listeners, we'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.